Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's so great to be back here in France after that trip through Italy. We did have some fun though, and if you missed those vlogs, I will link to them below. But today I wanted to share with you a fantastic recipe for a French apple cake. Now, this is a very rustic, homey cake, the type of thing that you won't find in the bakeries of France. It's really something that's made at home. It's easy, it's delicious, and if you're a beginner baker, this one's for you. So the first thing you want to do is get 3 good-sized tart apples, Granny Smith or a Honeycrisp, because the cake is sweet and it has a wonderful rum flavoring to it. You can leave the rum out if you don't drink, but I think a tart apple just works really well with this cake. To cut our apples, I'm going to be using one of these little apple slicers. I like to use this so that your apple chunks are roughly the same size, and that helps to make sure that all of your apples inside the cake will bake at the same rate. One tip about preparing your pan. So I think this cake works best in a 9-inch cheesecake pan. I've buttered it. But then I also like to line it with parchment paper. So just put your pan down on the paper and using a pencil, just go around the edge. The reason I do this is because that way the cake at the bottom will have a really nice soft crumb. And then one thing I like to do is flip it over. So actually pull it out, flip it over and do the same thing on the other side, just pressing it down. And what that will do is butter the parchment paper on both sides. And that is going to help us to remove the parchment paper from the cake once we put it on the cake stand after it's baked. For your batter, you're going to take a cup of butter. Now, here in France, I can't get my salted American butter. So I'm using unsalted, but if you're inside the US, I would use salted Land O'Lakes butter. I just think you get the best flavor from it. And then I would reduce the salt in the recipe to 1/4 teaspoon. And then to that, you're gonna add a cup of granulated sugar. And then just beat it up until it's nice and fluffy. Then you wanna add 3 eggs, one at a time, beating in between each addition and scraping down the bowl as needed. Then you wanna add 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract and 2 tablespoons of dark rum. Now, if you don't drink, you could definitely leave the rum out, or you could use rum extract. I wouldn't use 2 tablespoons of rum extract though. I would probably do 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract and then 1.5 of the rum extract, because it's pretty strong. All right, so here we go. And at this point, it'll look a little curdly. Don't worry, once we add the flour, it will all come together. So you can set this aside, and now we can work on our dry ingredients. So you want to put a fine mesh sieve over a medium bowl because we're going to sift our flour, which is going to help us get a very light and fluffy cake. To that, we're going to add 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And you just give that a whisk and sift it through. Then we want to add our flour mixture to our butter batter here in thirds, slowly mixing in between each addition and scraping down the bowl as needed. Now that our batter is good to go, we can add our apples. So this is a very tiny bowl. So the mixer bowl that I had in LA was a 7-quart. So that was like a big KitchenAid mixer. This one is 3.3 liters, which I did not realize when I bought it. So when I brought it home and I opened the box, it looked so mini. So I'm a little cramped in here, but I'm gonna make it work. All right, then we're gonna go back to our pan and pour it in. And you'll notice as you're scooping it in, it is a very chunky batter, meaning there's a lot of apples in here, but that's what makes this cake so delicious, in my opinion. And then just go ahead and spread it in your pan until you have an even layer. You are going to add a tablespoon and 1/2 of sugar on top, because this is what is gonna create that really beautiful crackly finish. The crumb is so light and delicate, and then you have this crunchy top, which is so yummy. And then you want to clean up the edges because you don't want the batter or the sugar to really bake onto the tin. I just go ahead with a clean dish towel and just kind of wipe up my edges like this before I put it in the oven. Then you are going to bake this at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for just about 35 to 37 minutes. You'll know that it's done when a toothpick comes out clean. And then just let it sit just like this for about 30 minutes. It will just firm up a little bit and be less fragile. And then before you release it, do run a sharp knife around the perimeter. I find that this is especially important with a springform pan because once you release the spring, whatever's stuck to it is coming with it. And you don't want that to be your cake. Extra credit goes to those who want to peel off the parchment paper. You don't have to if you don't want to. And the way you would do that is just loosen the parchment paper, take your spatula and put it in between the parchment paper and the cake. And very gingerly, while you're holding the spatula, just very easily pull it out. And because it's such a moist cake and we buttered it, it'll just slide right out. Now you could leave it just like this, or if you wanted to do just a little bit of powdered sugar on top, you could, but that may be gilding the lily a bit since we put all that other sugar on top. So you may want to do that, but it might look pretty with just a little tiny dusting, a fairy dusting. I love this French vanilla ice cream. It is the best, especially with this cake. All right, let's see. It's such a great combo with the tart apples, the sugary topping, and that delicious fluffy moist cake. I hope you guys give this one a try and let me know what you think, and I'll see you back here next time. Until then, bye.